very thrilling moment launching Raise the Pearl. And we have something a little bit more deeper. That's why only few people are here. On something more meaningful and thoughtful for Sri Lanka. So we thought to couple it up in spite of a crazy schedule, because we're all off to Jaffna immediately after this. And the topic is on sports tourism, an opportunity that some of us have seen for a long time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on sports tourism. Whatever the focus area, the niche that you are working on, that's what we want to inspire. We'll start small, but I can envision this growing into a conference, because we really need Sri Lankans to look at corners, edges that they don't normally see, because the overall trend in the market, I don't know, tell you, you'll say business is down, markets are down, of course. But then you have these little nuggets of gold, which we need to showcase. So we have a great panel, interesting panel, and we'll take it from there. So let me take you back to 2017-18. That was, one could say, the boom of tourism. At a point I was a banker, I was watching this space, and this was also in my mind long ago, that tourism has to and will be and should be a risky bet to make, but more people who are not in tourism need to come into tourism. We want to make it a hub of this, hub of that, but we forgot to realize everyone has to put their best brains into the already wind blowing at us. So 2018 is the peak. I'm not going to talk more about it. We have some experts in our panel. Let me show you the tourism pie that came into play at that time, and this is what we looked at. Why people come to Sri Lanka. Now, what you are looking at that happened an hour ago is not even in this picture, because it's called that 0.5% sport. So everything that happened a little while ago was in the 0.4% of the tourism pie. And if we thought that was something, then imagine the potential that is there to grow. But if you take a look from the top, very few people will see this. Let me show what the peak of that 0.4 for Sri Lanka looked like. By the way, 0.4 also means when somebody just ticks sport. Doesn't mean they are coming for anything specific. So in that, let me show you what the peak looked like. 2018, Ironman 7.3 Colombo. If 2019 didn't happen, this would have been both Colombo and Pasikuda by this time, minimum. But then we went back to zero, and we are coming step by step. Keep these numbers in your mind. 600 equals 2,400 equals 3 million. Let's start with the 1 million. That's what Rio FIFA bought to Russia. People visiting purely because of the event. That's what Paris 2024 is predicting, just to the city. Now when you multiply by that, the average spend, that's what becomes 3 million. So Sri Lanka got 3 million. Economic impact, I'm not making it up. The first sports tourism research was done by us with Cant and MRB, did some amazing work. That's what 1 week brought to the country. So, cycling is just one piece we are focused on. What else can we do? How do I connect to it? How do we propel things that are very, very specific? So if you look at where people came from, a lot of people thought they all came from our neighbor. No. This is where that 2,400 came from. This is 2019. I'll let you digest that for a minute. Now when Sri Lanka's 5 million tourist number someday comes and people are talking about backpackers, these packers, whatever, hey, anyone coming in, is anyone coming in? And I'll tell you why they come. Not because of a CNN ad, because they spoke to somebody to come here. Whoever it is matters. And out of all of this, 70% came first time to this country. That's what events in the area of sports tourism can do. So a little nudge to our hoteliers. Here's how they spend their hotel dollars in Colombo. So our large and traditional hotels also can't fall asleep because people are looking at options. You can see Airbnb and the homestays. They're looking for very personalized. They want to walk in shorts. They have the money. They can easily stay in a 5-star, but they want personalized. It's very different outlook a rider or an athlete who comes. But good news is, very quickly, there is a reason they come, not because of beautiful buildings, hotels, you or me. They come because we got a product. And that's the truth. They came because of the sun and what we have. So I'm sharing these insights out for research. So now I think you can connect the dots, what this means. Now let me come to the business angle of this. How did they spend money? I know there's a conversation in the city, getting that $75 a day to 400, getting more high-end tourists. Hey, here's the right tourist you're talking about, who is ready to spend. So average spend over 4 days average was 300,000 rupees. So you do the math and you'll come to easily the number you're talking about. Look at what they spend the money on. Now, we sent invites, none of the FMCG brands are here. Because they are, with the modern trade, they're fighting the standard battles. But these guys spend. What they don't foresee is the 5 million who's going to come. And how it drives their business. I wanted to see that 11%. 2019, we didn't have retail spend. This 300,000 they spent per person was without the shopping in Colombo. Without nothing to buy in this country. They come with open wallets. Sri Lanka needs products, new products, specialized products, innovative things for these markets to buy. Unfortunately, when Shangri-La was just being built, the mall was not there. Now there's something to buy. Now you should ask, now we know what they do, you should ask, why are they doing it? Do you have any guess? Quickly, I'll stop and open the panel. What's going in this guy who comes to ride a bicycle from top to bottom of the country? Why are they traveling? What's driving them? So this is for the marketers in the room. Guys, there is no proper research in this country to understand what the consumer is feeling and thinking. All guesswork. Good looking buildings, let's say that, let's do that, but not insight driven. So this is from a focus group we did with multiple participants. I'll let you just digest that. One slide and we can move. Some of you are in this space will realize, that's me. So the panelists here relate to this. And why they came? They want to go to new places. They want to win. They want to sweat. They want to be outdoors. And here we are in a country with 365 days of sun. And if outdoors, this is the place. The question is, what are we going to do about it? To talk about that only, we put this panel together. A group of people who I'm sure are normally not seen in a sports tourism forum, but I think they can contribute and start this conversation to build a discussion about niche specialized markets that Sri Lanka can explore and benefit from. So without further ado, let me call upon our moderator for today morning, Mr. Kazim, Chief Editor, Daily FT. Can I have Dimitri Kure, Managing Director, Jetwing, in your lovely property. Thank you for hosting us. Can I have Nishali from our favorite sports drink, Yeti? Can I also have Chanel and Shahan, who rode around Sri Lanka but mostly for their creative, amazing work on digital storytelling. It's an open forum. Nista will do the needful. You can ask questions. And
this is what we're going to sort of create in larger numbers going forward. According to the UN WTO, sports tourism is the fastest growing segment in the world. And I think some people confuse what we are trying to position versus the big games like the World Cups. And there's always been a criticism. You remember we were trying to host the Commonwealth Games sometime back. I think what we are talking is something different. Maybe where there is more potential. So what I'm going to what I'm going to do is invite the panel to sort of, from their perspective, sort of share what they see as the potential and the opportunities. So maybe I'll start with initially in terms of because you have gone few more steps as to your how background to your launch as well as the potential you see going forward. Yeah, of sports tourism, and from that there are offshoots for different other industries.
Alright, I want to start off by saying I'm one of those people that are absolutely in love with what Sri Lanka has to offer for us, right? We literally live in an adventure island. We go from like the mountains that we can use for things like waterfall scaling and paragliding and all of that, to the beaches, to all these amazing picturesque venues we can have sporting events. But what I think we lack is that we haven't commercialized these opportunities. If you go to like South Island in New Zealand or Austria or somewhere, like every tiny little thing is commercialized. There's a little trail and there'll be some guy charging $50 at the beginning of the trail. Like, Australia has some 12 stones in a beach and they call it the 12 apostles or whatever. But we have so much more to offer than they do. We just haven't commercialized it and marketed it as such. So I think maybe the starting point should be to start identifying all these amazing things we have beyond the traditional, just the beach holiday with the margarita in hand, and capitalize on this adventure island that we have.
Excellent. Moving on to Dimitri, as to do you see the industry sort of taking the initiative in terms of where do you see the potential going forward?
Definitely, like you mentioned before, sports tourism is one of the fastest growing segments in the industry, and also I agree with you that it's not about pitching to the large events like a World Cup or a event like that, especially FIFA Cricket World Cup, Sri Lanka has had, but we don't have the infrastructure or obviously the finances to have mega events of that nature. But we have seen, even Jetwin as a company, we have seen more and more cycling tours. I was talking to Agnes before, and like she also mentioned, cycling the entire country. It's a different perspective, and what you experience when you're on two wheels. Like both of them, last year they did an entire trip around the island by cycle, and this is definitely something which is something 5 years ago nobody would have think of you promoting. We actually have in our travel arm we have a specialized team which does cycling, walking, and adventure related tourism. And also and sometimes you think most of the people who want to do these are younger people, but actually the demographics of the people who have come on a cycling tours are 60 and above, which is probably people who have mainly retired, and it's a different market to the more adventurous type of people who might go to countries like New Zealand and do bungee jumping. But Sri Lanka has a different levels of your fitness level, so there's a lot of potential in this. And different companies are also looking at different activities. Whitewater rafting and so on is also becoming popular. So cycling, hiking, whitewater rafting, all these things, plus things like kite surfing in Kalpitia. I think Kalpitia is another destination which is seeing a lot of potential, and there will be also growth because kite surfing again, Kalpitia is one of the best locations in the world. 7 to 8 months of the year, you have winds where you can do this. Plus, on the east coast and in the south, you have conventional surfing. So all these have areas that we can have a lot of potential, and still we are in the infancy. And the more promotion we do, the better infrastructure. One thing is you have to ensure that the safety element is there, proper equipment. So I think that's where countries like New Zealand, Australia, though they charge a premium, they ensure that all the facilities are there. So we also need to ensure that whatever we provide to the clients are at of a international standard, and that we can maintain this risk-free as well.
Excellent, thank you. Chanel and Shahan, you guys have also sort of charted new areas. Tell us, how do you see the potential for sports tourism?
So we have definitely been following events like Ironman, and of course we had experience with an event called Raid Amazon last year as well, and a couple of years before that as well. I think that's another wonderful example of the potential of sports tourism. That was purely ladies, French women who are coming housewives, and their statistics showed that it's the wives that always make the decisions about the family trips. And so what that happens is we had, if it was 50 or 200 contestants? About 100 contestants who came to Sri Lanka, and we got to engage with them and really get a response from them as to what they thought of Sri Lanka. And it said it was incredible to them how beautiful the landscape was. And other than a regular kind of tourist route that you would take, these ladies got to experience all the back roads, all the villages, like people who aren't exposed to selling to tourists, but who are just happy to see them in their village, who were throwing water on them because they knew they were cycling past, the running, everything. So what I'm trying to say is they got to experience a real Sri Lanka because of the kind of sports tourism that events like Ironman and Raid Amazons are. They're not these big events that put you in like a stadium or anything like that. You're in touch with nature, close to nature. And they said 100% they will go back and they will come back to experience with their families. I think a few of them actually stayed on. They came the year before. So when they came last year, they decided to stay on with their families, asked them to join. So there's huge potential in doing this because a lot of them didn't know much about Sri Lanka because there isn't much marketing done in that aspect in France. But this not only did they plan their own family trips, but they said that when they posted their pictures on Facebook, that had a ripple effect as well. So now you're attracting people beyond just sports tourism through word of mouth, which I think is one of the most powerful ways to spread the news of Sri Lanka than big, like top level marketing. I mean, that's one, you need country branding, but it's these small avenues that really carry the authenticity. So the impact that it can have is enormous. I think, Shehan, if you have something to add to it.
Something interesting that we noticed during that time, what they said was these people become ambassadors of our country. So I think even with the 24-hour race, what's going to happen is they are going to not just see the beautiful landscapes, they're also going to be interacting with our people. And an advantage that we have here in Sri Lanka is that our people are extremely hospitable, firstly. And then secondly, especially for sporting events and stuff like this, communication here is a lot easier than in most other Asian countries. Because right around you're able to communicate because we have good English speaking people right around for sports events. So as a result, these people get to experience, like Chanel said, a completely different side of Sri Lanka, not the Sri Lanka that you see marketed. And they start endorsing and referring that, and then people come in search of that. So that I think is very special. I think this trail they're going to go through Mahiyangan and Mahapakada, that's an area that's not promoted much really in mainstream. But here, these people will now see a part of Sri Lanka that is very rarely promoted, and they will authentically be promoting it. And that's, like Shannon said, I agree 100% that is the most authentic and the most effective way of marketing. Because when they go back and tell 5 people, it's far different to all the hotels putting out boosted campaigns and stuff like that. So definitely a lot of potential there.
Okay, excellent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to engage the audience. This is a more of knowledge sharing. There's a lot to learn from you guys as well. So please after my final question to Yasas, maybe we'll discuss this, maybe discuss the problems or where do you see that from your perspective, why the potential is not being tapped. Yasas, I just want to, when you say sports tourism, we have recreation, adventure tourism, we have adventure travel, recreation, all that, and then you have this sports tourism. Maybe and you have this Red Amazon and your one. Where do you see Sri Lanka's immediate opportunity in the short term? Nothing gets done here in long term. Next 3 to 5 years, where do you see that Sri Lanka should pitch? Now, Red Amazon, I think, can Sri Lanka go out to see what are the potential ones that you can bring to Sri Lanka, and then see how you can sort of plug it in as part of the circuit or whatever. Where do you see what are the opportunities?
Thanks, Mr. I think Sri Lanka is already positioned. That research showed you. We are known for sun, period. And we are known for great landscape, Oregon. And we are also known for hospitality. I'm not saying this, we know this, but that's 2 years of research. So then my view is there's nothing else to do. Product has already done. Once in a while we have negatives that take it away, people come back. Already a million is here. Not because of any major campaign done by anybody or any positioning, because I think we have to understand that one part of the job is done. But there's a large part of the world who doesn't know there's a Sri Lanka. That's the problem. So that part is done. Then comes what would each one of us do specifically to use that positioning and get to our niche. So that's what our point today is. Find your niche. I'll tell you a classic one with Dikwella. Dikwella, if you go there, it's a normal hotel. But why? Now we moved we went from Dawn to Dikwella. One is convenience. Secondly, the rider who finishes a 24-hour race needs to put their legs in water, which is salt water, and they know the value of it. Now, I don't think, with all due respect, that hotel would have known that. That's our role. To work with such partners and ensure that uniqueness that we have is built to a niche product. So there is no Mr. Quick Quits. You have to be, the reason why this panel is here is you have to be really good at it. So example, if we at Spinner don't know bicycles, to that guys who came a little while ago, they didn't want other bike in, because their bike is religion. And the mechanics of it, if Sri Lanka can't handle, they are, however sunsy and sand is about country, they won't come. So we have no choice but to work hard to be the best in what you do. As we said, for you to get into bungee jumping, you better have your double masters on that, you better learn that inside out. Our problem is when people on the surface hoping for the trend to come. Trends come and go, but the truth is, are you really good at it? For Jan and Piotr to come from the world, they need to know somebody here can relate to the questions they ask. And Jetwing Lake, for an example, is an amazing place for us to do the changeover. Because they've got the atmosphere, there's a relaxing place. But if we don't get together, we can't build that product. They will also generally look at their traditional market. So answering your question is, we have to master our art and our trade. I mean, I am fans of the people here. I know Jetwing from the very beginning when we did Around the Pearl. The first problem for a hotel was, can't bring a bicycle inside the hotel. Most hotels refused. Then we had to explain me rubber slippers also are rubber. Wheelchairs, Now, they were the first hotels who got it. That's why when they came on board, they were the first, no problem. Otherwise, if we work with so the people need to go in deep. That's what my point is. Yeah.
No, my question was about, this is fine.
Yeah.
How do you attract more events? I mean, this is more homegrown thing.
Yeah.
Red Amazon was something that, is there other opportunities similar, which we can sort of, sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Because when you see the feedback from Red Amazons, the guys who will go back now, is there any other opportunities that the Sri Lankan sort of really look at focusing? Do you see it And Divin, also if you can.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the world, Ironman's classic thing, we got the franchise down. So even for that, if you look at the partners who were involved, one was a swimmer, proper Olympian. I don't have to tell the name, Julian. I brought the cycling. I knew my thing. So I have no short answer for this. If you want to build the big franchises, you got to know your stuff. You can't go with welcome to Sri Lanka, we are a nice country, I want come. They'll have your first meeting, second meeting, they're gone. Because it's technical. We are coming from a education system, everybody's on the surface. Then the fake MBAs. So everybody is on the surface. No one's willing to grind it. So I just keep driving that point. Yes, the franchise models are there. You can obviously tap the marathons, all those we can do. But I think we also can do it in Sri Lanka with a hard work. Yeah.
So if I could add into that, something we noticed when we were doing Raid Amazons, we were filming that, and we were wondering, why can't we do this here in Sri Lanka? Like, think of the corporate sector, offer a similar thing for women in the corporate sector, right? And what we understood was, like you said, this thing, like we have the expertise, but then you can't have those expertise overnight as well. So perhaps one way that we sort of work towards this 5 years down the line is look at these events and also start catering them to our local markets, right? Develop those so that then over time we learn, get that experience of doing it. So for example, something like Raid Amazons, there is no reason why we can't, like, the hotels could get together and plan a similar trail and offer that to our corporates as a team building exercise. That will then give us 4 years down the line, we'll have plenty of experience to sort of do this sort of thing all around our country. We and a lot of the people we were working with explored new parts of Sri Lanka with Raid Amazons, because those guys said, oh, let's go down here and see what's here. So one way maybe is that we sort of also think about, okay, 5 years down the line to get there, Yasas was telling us, even to get the technicians on board, it takes time to get that skill set. And as a result, you need a market for them to practice with. So I think that there is opportunity for us to look at what's happening abroad and also see how we can do this at a local scale to sort of get those expertise.
Okay, excellent. I'll open up to the audience. Any ideas in terms of how Sri Lanka can, the industry also can sort of tap this opportunity? Or anyone who is in the, it can be more on the marketing side, more on product development side.
This while they talk about it, we have a good story of.
I know, yeah, but before I want to come, yeah.
Hi, I'm Sanjay. I'm actually a sports agent in Sri Lanka. I manage commercial athletes, and this is actually a great opportunity and also a great topic to talk about because I'm going to tell you a comment and as well as put on a question for you guys. Because if you see, cricket is like the most commercialized sport in Sri Lanka, and if you go to other countries like say Australia or England, nobody knows CDD or LL. They know cricket. So sports is one of the biggest things that we can get everyone together, and especially we have races, we have religions, we have different cultures in Sri Lanka, but where we all come together is the flag. So this is like a big opportunity for us to actually work on. If you could get the best people around to develop this part of sports tourism in Sri Lanka, I think we can definitely go higher above the traditional method of marketing our destination through sports. So that is my comment to the sports tourism topic. My other question is how you commercialize. Say 95% of the commercial market in Sri Lanka for sports is cricket, and the rest of the 5% is for the other 72 sports that is under the sports ministry. So 5% and 95%, I think there should be a commercial brand that needs to step forward and take the risk of getting another sport in front. Like if you take, I actually manage a lot of track and field athletes, which I have seen they've made a lot of progress. This time Asian Games we had 4 medals, so which is possibly one of the highlighting sports events in the country that we need to highlight, as well as how we have triathlon is one of the biggest sports that we can market here, because if you take the port city, you can do one triathlon in the whole of port city. So that is definitely like my question as to how are we going to commercialize another sport in Sri Lanka if commercial brands are not going to risk and come forward.
Thank you. Excellent. Yeah. Yes, Asya.
Can talk about it. How she commercialized her business model.
Sure. So to answer your question, I think we'll sort of give our example of how we developed something out of like really nothing at the time. We were into content creation. We were initially looking at doing content creation abroad as a means of just being able to travel for free, really, right? But then we looked at Sri Lanka and we understood, oh, there's this tremendous opportunity here because Sri Lanka is promoting for tourism, and there are no local creators that are really promoting Sri Lanka. And the timing was such that, unfortunately, 2019 was, the start of all our troubles for the tourism sector. And at that point, suddenly there were no foreign creators, no influencers coming in, and then we were positioned there to do that. In terms of monetizing and commercializing it, again, our thing was like we immediately, within the first year, we realized we can't rely on the government to help us or give us that infrastructure because you're really small. And in the case of this, like 5% of the sports, it's insignificant. Everyone's focus will obviously be on cricket. But then what we had to do was we spoke with hotels, we spoke with everyone, and we took the initiative ourselves and found different ways of commercializing it. In our instance, it was content creators weren't valued, but there was still video production needed for the hotels, right? So in that same aspect, so while we were doing content creation and building our brand around that, we were still doing video production, which was the value that was in that market and offering that. So in the same way, I would think for these sports, it's a case of like, okay, the commercial value is not seen by the government, but like Raid Amazons has shown, like Iron Man has shown, there is significant value, and I would even think sometimes more value than the cricket tourists bring into the country, right? Because some of these people are spending far more when they come, and there's a set value. So it's a case of sort of bringing up those examples and showcasing. Like Raid Amazons was something we were sort of with, and the amount of money they were spending even in between was phenomenal. So and that was purely a private initiative, no involvement with the government. And I think like with everything that is done here, it has to be private initiative. And commercializing really, like if you are dedicated and that's all you're going to do, you will somehow find ways to commercialize. And I think what we need to do is identify people, like Yasas is with cycling. We need to identify people and put them in the front to run specific sports. So like if you're a track and field, it should be your initiative to sort of figure out how to do this, and you'd know best the kind of sponsors you could get on board to bring something about. Waiting on the government is never going to happen, in my opinion.
And also, I think a good way to look about it is how to utilize social media, because getting it out there and making it trendy, unfortunately, I don't like to use the word trendy, but making something trendy is usually the stepping stone to getting more eyeballs to it, to getting more attention, more funding, and things like that. So it is an important part in today's day and age in anything. I think if you're trying to commercialize it, giving a voice to the athlete, or as an agent, you yourself using a platform to kind of put your message out there. What are the benefits? What are the things that you need to improve it? Even if it's something motivational for future athletes to kind of aspire to, there's a lot that can be done through using the platform. So I definitely think that's something to look into.
So could I just add one more thing in there? Following up on what Chanel said, one thing that we've understood that we really can sort of harness right now is bringing in sports influencers, right? So let's say track and field, maybe not the Usain Bolts, but the tier below them, a lot of people would be still looking for just an all-inclusive paid trip to Sri Lanka, right? So there is an opportunity with any sport, with any of these areas, right, to offer them just that, but then get them involved to showcase. Like if it was rugby, Brian Habana came down, right? Like I think, if I'm not mistaken, they took him for a Bradley, right? So then you're getting one of the top rugby players to experience our local scene, and if he talks about it, that's huge exposure within those communities. So in that way, I think we should learn to harness what we have, reach out to like the qualifying teams of the knockout stages of the World Cup. See how many people of them you could bring down just to have a really good trip around Sri Lanka, but in the process also see what's happening for rugby development. That is one way that we can definitely sort of utilize what we have without having to spend too much.
Another quick point I need to initially. So Race the Pearl is a classic one. Just a half an hour ago, a Tour de France stage winner, yellow jersey was here. Monumental from a cycling event point of view, Sri Lanka has never seen. So let's see how that spins. I'll tell you another story we won't know here. A lady I found in Dabulla many years ago, farmer, never won a meaningful race, so-called on press. Is now on her fourth year. Mother, husband is paralyzed somewhat. So the work we've done with her is to first let her figure out what to say, what not to say, get out of, the typical Sri Lankan issues. So now she's got a bit of sponsor, gradually. Yesterday I went and deleted the part of her Facebook post she has put. It's not about winning medals. She's yet to finish it in 24 also, but she's already got a sponsorship. So we have to also study the subject of marketing. I'm not saying get qualified, too many qualified people. We are trying to do stuff on YouTube level surface. We're not getting deeper how to build an item. Since you are an individual, personal branding, there's a subject called personal branding. The guys who win the highest medals will never make the money. You can go to serial superstar, or the guy who really became a hit from the first one was a dropout, right? First 2, 3 you only remember. So we are a little bit, I keep going back, so many on the surface, getting to the topic, the subject deeper and really building those brands matter. So Race the Pearl started when the bomb blasted. We let Iron Man go. And then we started with just 2 people riding for madness. And here we are gradually. So one is the long-term outlook. Second is know the subject of how do I commercialize this subject. Or you can swing it because you've got the entrepreneurial skill and you might come up with something. But I've seen her with a bottle, an oddly shaped bottle in Spinner Cafe, telling there's a water bottle, giving us the lowest margin. And our cafe manager said, we can't have this bottle, sir. And she has a half prototype of her isotonic, 2016. But so people commercialize are the ones who study the subject, go into depth, rather than looking for those quick wins that we explore. That's the point. So one example is the Tour de France took 6 editions to bring it down. And the quiet story of a lady in Dabulla who is now getting positioned for bigger sponsors as she go. So now she's already believed. It's possible to commercialize at all levels. But we can't expect others to do it for us. But some need help. I think it is,
Initially, just share some,
commercialization, you have to talk.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure you will have a lot of ideas in terms of sharing. How did you manage?
So a couple of things when we started building Yeti as a sports brand, as a nutraceutical product. One thing that we could have easily done was just copy the global product. We looked at the global product and the sports science, and what we realized was the global product was actually substandard because it only had sodium and potassium in it as a sports drink, and it was 20 years behind in science. So if you want to kind of just copy what's out there, just do what's easy, just create Me Too products, that's not going to really bring success. We decided, we are creating something for Sri Lankans, and we want it to be the best science out there, the best cutting edge. I think people have this attitude like for Sri Lankans it's okay, like a substandard. We wanted to kind of pull away from it. As Sri Lankans, we want to create a global product for Sri Lankans. And with Yeti, we want to always make sure things were backed by science, that it was the right nutraceutical product with the right nutrition. And that attitude of having a global standard product is important for whatever it is that we do here, because when tourists start coming in, all of that, even if they walk into a shop, they need to see global products on the shelf. So I think it's super important to not just create Me Too products or just copy what's out there, but to create innovative products that are at a global standard.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I get your point. Yeah, I'll come in. I get your point about commercializing the sports. It's a different, another bit, but I think guys who are in the industry, in respective sports can take the initiative. You know how Dan Gomez has been trying to, make boxing relevant, and, he does some work on his own. Likewise, there are so many sports. You said 72 or 27? 72 sports. Okay, excellent. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for the time. I'm Nishantha Piyasena, sport administrator. I need to stress and thank you very much, and we have listened to your discussions and a lot of knowledge. We are very happy to get all this kind of information. To narrow down my question, I move to the point. My question is to Jetwing Hotels. So I have seen many more time. I think Yasas has already touched that area. If we are talking about sports tourism, the main part that you guys you should provide accommodation and good facilities to the tourist or sport guys. So I also had some experience that sometimes most of hotels in Sri Lanka, they don't allow some bicycles in, and as well as you don't, some hotels, of course, they think that it's a bigger headache, and they always try to discourage coming with the bicycles, especially cycling tourists. So I'm not talking much about the foreign tourists, but still you can promote local tourism through sports. And we are talking about cycling and cycling sports. My request is if you can promote and give some facility, especially for the riders who are coming to the hotels, something like some additional, I'm not talking about discounts, but anyway, if you can give some additional facility, something like to bring the bike in and store and washing facility, and maybe you can give some extra energy drink or something. So think about that area and just make some good packages for the cyclist. Thank you.
Thank you. I think definitely on this cycling tourism, I think like Asas mentioned, I think our first partnership was in 2013 with Around the Pearl. And at that time also it was a new thing for us as well, because we have never had this type of tourism or been part of an event of such nature. I think that was had about 30-40 participants, and that was there were different challenges, and like you said, none of the hotels in Sri Lanka are purpose built for handling, say, cycling tourism. For example, like certain hotels will have places for you to park your bikes, but when it comes to like say washing your bikes, all these facilities are something that are not there. But of course, there are in the car parks you have facilities to wash your vehicles and so on. So something like that is available, but we haven't looked at or we don't have the facilities currently to accommodate. But now we allow people whoever, if they are cycling, whether it is individuals or like I said, we also promote tours, not mainly to locals, but a lot of expatriates, and in the last foreigners in the last few years, we have been getting cycle tours where they come cycle around the island or over a week. So that type of tourism is slowly building, and we do accommodate their requests, whether it is for them to park their bikes and all that. And we can also definitely, one thing we can look at is even for the local market to promote some packages where it's also we provide a guided experience. So even if you're not a professional and you're just doing this as a recreational thing, which was shown on Yasa's slides, a lot of people do this as a stress relief. especially Europeans, because you're leading very stressful lifestyles. It's a pretty much a dog eat dog world. You're just one meeting after the other, a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. So all these allow you to release those, and also once you leave the big cities of Sri Lanka, the nature, the air you breathe, all these things also help. So definitely these are areas that we can work on. Like I mentioned earlier, also the infrastructure has to improve overall in the island, including the hotels plus public areas, especially one thing Sri Lanka lacks is good public washrooms around the island. Okay, for men it may be slightly easier, but for ladies there are always challenges. Okay, forget cycling, but even if you travel by vehicle, something we always struggle is to find a decent washroom. So whereas the more developed world, you'll have rest stops. So all these in the long run has to improve, and which will help people to have an easier experience of when they are cycling and so on.
Excellent. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You have discussed things among yourselves and how good or how bad you can be, but you have not taken into account the influence of government intervention to make you even better. Now, the ministries of tourism, ministries of sports, they are manned by reasonably volatile people. Now, why is it that you have not got government intervention into your future thinking? Now, that is point number one. Point number two is Sri Lanka as well known as most of the other countries? Take, for instance, the Maldives. The Maldives is better known in the United States than Sri Lanka. You talk of Maldives, everybody seems to know where the Maldives are. You talk of Sri Lanka, they ask you the question, where the hell is that? Now, this is the bad influence of what we have that we can improve considerably, but get the government people also involved. What I mean is the ministers and the ministries, so that they can back you in what you want to do. That will be perhaps a positive way of looking forward. Any views on that, please?
Thank you for that. Yasas, you are the best person. Yeah.
How long do we have? So answer is yes. I think if only public-private work together, the infrastructure policy. So I don't want to comment about the policy challenges you have. So last experience of the event we talked about, the largest sports tourism event we did, 2 years of work, not because the public sector is bad, but they are made to be inefficient. Only because I'm a Sri Lankan, I did this. If I was anybody from outside, with the third meeting, if my corporate life, I walked out. Because can't. They're not geared to run at that pace because the world is a competitive place. While we were pitching for Ironman franchise, so was India. We got it before them because we pushed hard. But then it's not easy because bureaucracy at the top is extremely corroded. I would not use the other word, corroded. So it's not easy for the public-private partnerships to work. That's the real truth. What do we do about it, I think, is beyond this forum. Said that, yes, last time when the challenge was there, country didn't have a single event, we took the sports tourism and brought them here. But I'll tell you, today they should have been here. They're all nice people, they're busy. Because they're busy with the stuff they're doing. This is niche. So there's a bit of work to bring them as stakeholders and go along that way. Then you asked another question, I forgot which, sorry? Yeah, that's a very good question. So this is the other issue. We are saying we have this, I know we bring high spending tourists through these niche events. And then you're saying we don't need backpackers. There's something about, we don't want people. So we are confused as a country. You're absolutely right. Maldives, 2.5 million in 300 square kilometers. UAE, 25 million. With what do they have? Sri Lanka is trying to figure out whether we need less tourists. High spending. So I think we've strategically lost it. We need people to come. and hashtag Sri Lanka. So unless we have negative publicity, our good publicity won't take us there. So I think if all of us connect on that and to say we all should promote this country, anyone who's coming, as long as they are robbing, invite. They have spent $1. So policy is confused, even the private sector is confused. They are all giving all mixed messages. If UAE can, with 85 million people, can take 25 million, what is Sri Lanka's problem? Let them all come, man. So when more people come, as you said, the word of mouth goes. Unless we play a sport like football, nobody's going to know us. Only the people who come here will take that message out. And the few 3 million who's overseas, they also haven't realized, or we haven't done a campaign for them to be brand ambassadors, to just talk about Sri Lanka, put one picture a day. So do we need that type of vision at the top? Yes. Do we have it? No. As a result, few of us, I think, are doing what we can do without that rocket fuel. You are right. If the policy falls, if that falls, we can take this to a next level. I mean, this year, honestly, I don't know whether it will go out, but I haven't gone to Sri Lankan tourism for the support. Last year I went because they needed it. This year I didn't, because I don't have the time for it. I don't have the time for it. We've got Tour de France guys to come here. If we went, talked, all of that, they'll do it, but it takes time. So that's what the public sector bureaucracy is slowing people down. And if you're a small guy, it's very difficult. Yeah, please.
Regarding your question about the Maldives, I agree with you in the sense that the Maldives has one type of tourism that they promote to the world, and they've got it right. They have narrowed down on it, and they know exactly what they're selling. When it comes to Sri Lanka, we have something more, which is actually to our advantage. We have a variety of different things that we can offer to a tourist when they come. The issue is that we haven't identified what is the best way to get this message of this diversity of experiences out to the world. So what we have, I think, at the top level is a disconnect between what tourists actually want when they come to Sri Lanka. So that requires real statistics to be collected, again, which is something we're missing and would really help with the direction that tourist board and ministries can take. So what happens is you have a disconnect between what people actually like and want to experience and want to tell their friends and family about versus what is being marketed. So it's going in two different directions, and what we really need is one direction that all parties are focusing towards. That would really help Sri Lanka. And the first point that you mentioned regarding what's it about?
Ministerial support.
Ministerial support. Again, that I want to build on what you said about the world moves fast, and I think it's wonderful if you can get that support. But in our experience, what we've realized is that you can get their attention, but you have to start on your own. You cannot wait for them to help you start, because I keep saying that we've been waiting a long time. And I think if you really want to see change, individuals, private sector, the best results come when we take action on our own and we join hands with other people who are also interested and really get things started. And what I've noticed is that once you create something that is impactful, valuable, that is doing some really good work, you then get their attention, and then you can use their platforms and their experiences and their avenues to boost your event or whatever it is that you're doing to the next level. And I think this is a great way to do it, because it sorts out the people who want to really do something, because those are the ones you will see going out and getting started eventually, and then getting the support, versus that can clear out a level of people who just want to get, collaborate with ministries, etc. But then sometimes the ideas aren't right because the experience isn't right, and it really doesn't go anywhere. So in a way, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's better for individuals and private sectors to really start on our own without waiting for ministries to get involved. And once you really start doing that work, use them as a boost, because I think waiting around for that is not the solution, because we need to get things going.
Just to add on I think branding and the positioning on the country. I think my father has been also saying this many times in our forums as well. when it comes to brand in Sri Lanka, one reason why people don't know what we are is we have Ceylon tea, Ceylon sapphire, Ceylon cinnamon. And then we have Sri Lanka cricket, Sri Lanka tourism, Sri Lanka apparels. So as a country, we are marketing two things, or two different names. Like some I wonder why companies which are formed, like people at my age who were born in Sri Lanka and maybe in their early 30s or 20s, and they are coming up with something Ceylon when they were not even born in Ceylon, and the country changed its name in 1972. So it's like, why are you trying to live in the past? Like Ceylon tea, yes, it's a established brand, but we are Sri Lanka. So there is that positioning problem of the country, and people get confused. The elderly people might still know what Ceylon is, but anybody who was born in the last 40, 50 years has no idea what Ceylon is, and you're still trying and think that it's that exotic name, it's luxury. But so people should get it out of their head that we are living in Sri Lanka, otherwise we should go back to Ceylon. Because you can't be having one name and promoting a different. So that's an issue that the country has faced for many years, and sadly it doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon. So this is hopefully at least the younger generation will realize this, maybe not now, but in the next 10 years or so, and decide to go with one brand, because that's where countries like Maldives are. Maldives, like Shania said, they target one set of tourism, okay. But you have the three S's, sun, sea and sand. There's nothing else known, but it's just how well they're positioned and the marketing and the advertising. So Sri Lanka lacks that, and due to all the bureaucracy we have, unfortunately, the positioning and the marketing, destination marketing which was supposed to happen this year, now it looks like it won't happen till at least May, June next year. So by the time that happens, whatever the promotions you plan are pretty much too late. So all these things have to be worked out fast, and especially now any advertising campaign is only relevant for a few months. So that's why. So the country needs to realize what name we want to be first, without promoting two different names as well internationally.
Before we wrap up, any other questions or comments?
Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm just from marketing background. How I see this whole thing is we have a problem of creating products and propositions. Now we discussed we need to have a country branding. In terms of the customer perspective, how I see this issue, people want to have specific experiences. Rather going and branding the entire country, we need to break this into specific products. Why Maldives is successful? They are offering a product. And if we can have very specific product and products that we can market, would be better, because people are either coming for sports tourism or leisure, or they are coming for a specific experience. And in terms of sports tourism and other niche areas in Sri Lanka, rather now, if you look at our leisure sector, we have hotels, we have people like Yasas who are coming up with different expertise. We have social media activists, but we don't have collaboration, and we don't come up with the proposition, because I don't think traditional setup, we will be able to come up with a proposition for these segments. So we need to get together and come up with a proposition. Now let's take music industry. It's not the singer itself. So it's the experience, the whole thing what we create. People go for that. So we need to have something like that for us to have more specific value for customer. Now we discussed making it more commercialized, getting monetary aspect of it. Now rather just making it commercialized, can we see from the value perspective? So if I'm a tourist coming into Sri Lanka, what I'm going to get out of it? It's not the price we just set. So it's the whole value we get. And I think the whole purpose of this discussion is we need to create a national level conversation. So can we let I think entrepreneurs are the best people to come up and get all these stakeholders together and build these products. So if we can, what I want to do is leave a message for whoever who are ready to come up with such ideas, get all these experts and come up with specific products, so where we can go and market.
Thank
Can
you.
I
Excellent.
quickly-
Yeah. We have the entrepreneurs here on this, in this panel as well.
So since you're from a marketing background, I think you're spot on in what you're saying. Corporate brand is the Sri Lanka brand. That has multiple stakeholders. It's a very complicated space, including the president of a country is a stakeholder. He's the guy who represents the country in all the widest CNN covering meetings, right? So getting that, because we understand the complexity, is a bit of an extremely challenging one. Then comes to the products that you're building. So I'll give you the classic one is Raise the Pearl. We've taken Sri Lanka, sun, and the beauty. That is from the corporate brand, the mother. We've taken the roads, and we've collaborated with somebody who has something to offer in Jaffna, which is Jetwing, and then we've taken Liquid. So that's the product, classic example, that is now attracting the right people into it. And that collaboration includes SFMs and all those right people who are coming on to do that. So it's totally doable. Asking for this wider thing and not focusing on what we can actually do with what we have. Because however, see, brands are anyway built. We don't have to. We think it's not built. They know, don't go there are bombs. Go here, even there are bombs, country is okay. That's why the million came. Million didn't listen to that news. They came. We forget that. Why did they come? We knew, I thought we knew, but we asked. They said, good sun, right? It is very much, it's winter. And I think it's okay, right? Wildlife. So the brand in the guys who know us. Very clear. Our problem is, we haven't been creative and innovative to figure out our piece. Now, I don't take the highways of Sri Lanka. I love the highways because when highways grow, roads become empty, so us to do cycling. So we take the road, Colombo to Jaffna. That's all. So, and then we collaborate. That's why this group is here. So it's already happening. We want more of you to go try that big one. Building the mother brand, reputation. But there is already built work historically in a country, an island in the Indian Ocean, known forever. Some know this for what we already have. Our campaign hasn't still launched. Campaign was launched 2000 years ago. We haven't figured out how to use it. So this is an example of that. So I'm hoping someday these two will also collaborate. Because I have two things that I need. But we still haven't sat. We haven't even sat or discussed about that. But that's what we need to do.
Thank you, sir. I think what you all are doing, I think it should happen everywhere, like not only here.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this audience will be sort of change makers. Small, but I'm sure very effective, and I'm sure this nucleus is enough to sort of take the message out and perhaps maybe have a larger forum. So thank you very much. And the panelists also for your time, valuable time on YASA's invitation. So thank you very much. And I think whether you're a stakeholder or not, I think what's going to happen from day after tomorrow is good for the country. I'm just waiting to hear the first impressions of the guys who are coming for the first time. And imagine the impact it will have when they post pictures, selfies and everything within that community. I mean, that's a starting point, right? Yeah, and the impact is so gigantic when you look at the 10 odd people who will be here for the first time. And all these sports events bring first time guys, right? Unlike cricket, which is always the usual guys who come anyway for a cricket match. But some of the sports tourism, these kind of initiatives bring first time visitors to Sri Lanka. So that's it. So thank you very much. And we'll definitely keep you posted about our future engagements and events with you all. Thank you very much.
For more latest news, subscribe to FTTV.